I read a post by Adam Grant today that reminded me of a different element that we need to think about when it comes to leadership. In Adam's post, he speaks about the relationship between identity and self-worth and our careers or work. And he basically suggested that, we choose what we identify with or how we identify, and as a result can choose not to make work part of our identity. And while that thought is liberating or really interesting in and of itself, I don't think that paints the whole picture, because what we know is that the society that we live in, the conditions that we are part of, ultimately define what is important and what is to be valued in order to belong to the society. We know that work is a core tenet of the industrialized society. That is what our structures are built on, and that is also what our identities are tied to. Just think about how we talk about or treat people who aren't in work. I think that gives us a really clear example of how much of a core value work is as part of our society. So choosing not to identify with work is a big ticket issue, and one that requires time and headspace, and frankly a bit of privilege to disassociate from. So what does it mean for leadership? I think when we think about leadership as a choice or an action we take individually, we also need to understand that leadership shows up in context, right? In the context of our teams and in the context of our workplaces. And so while there's a lot that individuals can do to, evolve or mature their leadership practice, we must also ask, what are the context or systems conditions that allow for leadership behaviours and actions to emerge? So if you're working for an organization or even leading a team or an organization where you want more leaderly behaviors to show up, the question I have for you is what the conditions are that you are creating for leadership to emerge. And often when we think about conditions or workplace culture, we talk about psychological safety, we talk about sense of team, sense of belonging, and that is all really, really important. But one thing we know about leadership is that that is a behavior or an action that shows up in moments and spaces of tension. And so what we want to consider when we think about creating conditions for leadership is how we curate how people can and are allowed to show up during moments of tension. Are we trying to avoid them at any cost? Or as an organization, are we willing and able to sit with them and work our way through them collectively? And I think when we think about bringing more leaderly behaviors across an organization, across the hierarchy, what we need to sit with and explore is how we show up in moments of tension.